G'day guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. Now, as I've been banging on about during my last few videos, in today's video, I finally got my ass into gear and I'm going to give you guys an update as to where I'm at in the process of converting the spare room of my apartment to a vintage toy and collectible room by giving you an updated collection room tour. Now, I was planning to film this video last weekend. I came in here, I got set up, I looked around and I just wasn't happy with how the action figure display behind me was looking. So basically, over the last week, as I've had time, I've been rearranging things and just trying to find the balance between filling up the shelves, but making sure they're not too cluttered. And, truth be told, I'm still not 100%, but at the end of the day, it's always a work in progress. Now, on that note, if you see part 3 in the title of this video, that doesn't mean this is part 3 of the collection room tour. I'm going to be giving you a full collection room tour. It just means that it's the third video that I've made in the process, starting with an empty spare room to what we have now. But anyway, that's it for the preamble. I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll go shelf by shelf and I'll show you what I got. Alrighty, so here we have it. Here's the entrance to the room. And before we go in, the first thing to note, I got a piece of artwork here that I just put up on the wall last night. I wanted something that kind of set the tone as you walk into the room. So I found a piece of artwork from Displate. It's a pretty cool metal print that just mounts to the wall with magnets really easily. And it's obviously reminiscent of an old VHS case with memories from the 80s. So I think that kind of does the job of setting the tone. I've got my bulldog there wandering around. She's the one that snores, if you ever hear snoring in the background of my videos. Anyway, enough of that. So here we have the entrance to the room, and here we have the two display cabinets together. So I really love the pop of color as all those different action figure lines kind of come together in that display. And guys, let's go through it. So we start at the top of the first cabinet. We've got the Technodrome. If you saw my previous collection room tour, you would have seen that before. That's definitely one of my favorite items in my collection, so that had to retain pride of place. And then we've also got the boxed Ring Raiders playset there as well, the Skull Squadron Action Assault Base with some of my Ring Raiders flying around there. So that's pretty cool as well. Happy to get that prominently displayed, or keep that prominently displayed. And then the first shelf we have here is just the core collection of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, how I displayed this previously, if you saw my previous collection room tour, part 2 of the series, I had all the heroes on the left, all the villains on the right, and 88 at the front, and worked my way backwards as the years went on. I thought I'd try something different here. So we've got 1988 over here, and then 1989 and 1990, heroes at the front, and villains looming behind them. So we've got the 4 turtles, April, Splinter, and then we've got the villains behind them. Most of these figures are complete right through 88 to 1990. I need a microphone and a pistol for April. That's about it for that. Then we've got 1989. 1989, I just need one of Ace Duck's grenades. I'm just missing that. And guys, I'm sorry if there's a bit of shakiness as we go through this. I'm filming this on my phone in my hand and just trying to catch it in one take. So, and then we have 1990. And 1990's complete for the most part. Wingnut needs his grenade. And I think that's about it. I think the other guys are complete. And then when we go to the second turtle shelf, this is basically all my favorite sub-series of the Ninja Turtles, along with some 1991 figures up top and behind. So first we've got the Wacky Actions. Now when I started setting up this display, I've got a lot of file cards and card backs, and I wanted to try and make use of it. So I started to do that with the Wacky Action Turtles here, but in the end I just found that they took up a lot of space. I've stored most of them away. I left these ones out just kind of to remind me to try and integrate them where I can. So there's Wacky Action. Then we've got one of my favorite sub-waves of the Turtles, is that first wave of Turtles in Disguise. These guys are all complete with the exception of Space Cadet Raph's helmet. And then up top here, we've got a couple of new figures. So we'll look at these more closely during my next vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pickups video, but I thought why not just throw them in. So we've got a complete Toka and a complete Razar. Really happy with those. And then we got some Ninja Turtles wax pack, movie cards underneath, because obviously these are the movie stars line. And then behind them, we've got a carded Triceraton and a carded Ground Chuck. Then we've got Talking Turtles. Leo and Mike are missing a few accessories. We've got Military Turtles. I need a Bulldog for Green Team Beret Raph, and a couple of accessories apiece for Lieutenant Leo and Midshipman Mike. And then we've got a figure that I've been hanging out for, as I mentioned in my previous Ninja Turtles pickups video, and that's a complete Dirtbag. So again, we'll look at him up close during my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pickups video. And then we've got my complete walkabout. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles character hailing from my hometown of Sydney. You know, he had to get an elevated display there, so he's cool. Colouring in book behind. So collectively, that's the Turtles display. Not all my collection, but again, it's just a matter of space. So I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. And then if we move down, Jurassic Park's getting, far more real estate for display than I had previously. So we've got my carded figures. So that's all of the carded figures, the humans actually, specifically the humans, not all the dinosaurs obviously, but that's all the human characters except for Alan Grant. And then we've got all the loose human figures there except for Muldoon, I think. So, and then we've got the lunchbox that I picked up at Collecticon, the vintage lunchbox with the thermos, and then we've got a carded Velociraptor. So pretty happy with how that's looking. And then if we move further down to the bottom shelf in this display unit, we've got a toy line that I previously hadn't had on display before. It's a toy line that I plan on giving some attention in terms of picking up some more figures. Obviously that's Street Sharks. So I'm liking how those look. I definitely want to pick up more of those and pick up more accessories to complete those guys. Harder and harder to come by, but I'm on the hunt. And then hiding behind Man to Man there, we have some carded muscle figures and some childhood survivors, some loose muscle figures behind there as well. I started to put the muscle there, but I wanted space for the Street Shark, so I need to find another spot for the muscle figures. Space is obviously still an issue, even though I've got another display cabinet. The more I get out, the more I realize that I still, don't have space for. But anyway, we'll get there. Work in progress. So that's that first display cabinet again. So next we move on to the second display cabinet. And the first thing that we have here is a major item that I didn't have on display previously because of space, and that's the Hasbro WWF Wrestling Ring. Now it does need a bit of love. I probably need to get some replacement ring ropes as they're quite loose. And sadly the flag has broken off. It's snapped off inside one of the ring posts. So I need one replacement ring post and one replacement flag. But if you're a Hasbro WWF action figure collector, you know that's easier said than done. And then inside the ring, we've got the complete first wave of the figure line. Now this is the first figure line that I'm going to be doing a review video of. To this point, my channel's been pretty well dominated by pickups videos, but it's always been my plan to do some review videos once I complete a wave of a figure line with all accessories. So that's going to be first up, so I'll get to that. Obviously we've got some LJ and Thumb wrestlers there. And then we've got the rest of my Hasbro WWF figure collection. Now, as I was going through and arranging these figures by wave, because I've kind of loosely arranged it with wave 2 onwards from the front, and then, working through to the later waves at the back. As I was setting these figures up and refreshing my memory as to what figure belonged in what wave, I was noticing just how many I'm missing. So definitely on the hunt for more of those, but I want to try and be selective and really prioritize finding figures to complete waves 2 and 3 rather than just going straight to the green cards and paying silly money. But anyway, we'll get there. But I really love this toy line, definitely one of my favorites. Give you guys a little bit of a closer look there. A lot of these figures in really nice condition. And then we move down to the bulk of the Ghostbusters collection. So most of these figures you would have, and items you would have seen previously if you've seen my previous collection room tour, part 2 of the spare room to vintage toy room. I've got some comics there, a 3-part series of Ghostbusters 2, the film as played out by the real Ghostbusters characters. Ghostbusters 2 is one of my favorites, so that's really cool. And those comics display really nicely behind the figures. And then if we move down to the next shelf, as I get down to my knees, now this shelf is a little bit of a catch-all shelf. So on the left there, we've got the rest of my real Ghostbusters collection. So we've got the Universal Monsters, we've got the original Fright Features figures, most of which are missing their accessories. They're the main thing that I'm on the hunt for in the real Ghostbusters line, the accessories to complete the Fright Features figures. And then behind them we've got the complete Super Fright Features figures with their accessories and companion ghosts. And then in the middle we've got my very small but hopefully growing Dick Tracy collection. So we've got the Dick, he's carded, and then some of the villains there, some complete, some missing accessories. At the front here, we've just got some childhood survivor monsters in my pocket. I was just looking for something to kind of fill that space there at the front until I can find more Dick Tracy figures. So I just pulled out some of my favorite monsters in my pocket, some of the high rated figures. If you collected monsters in my pocket, you might recall they work to like a number system, you know. Some figures have number 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. So I picked out the 25s and some other figures that I remember and just thought were cool when I was young. So they're there, happy to get them out. I got a ton of them, and I've got some really cool vintage Monsters in My Pocket comics as well, which I didn't know about until I stumbled across them at a toy show. So once I've got more space, I'll definitely get the Monsters in My Pocket on display, or the complete collection that I have. And then I'll try and work out which ones I'm missing and hunt those down. And then we've got one of my favorite toy lines that I didn't have as a kid, and that's Toxic Crusaders. Now, a lot of these figures are complete or near complete. I got these for a really good price off Facebook Marketplace. And then we've got the hovercraft, the very, very incomplete hovercraft that I picked up at a Collecticon show, which you might have seen if you watched whichever of my Collecticon videos that was. And then if we go down to the bottom shelf of this display cabinet, we've got my Crash Test Dummies collection. Now this is a bit of a mess. I was trying to get as many of my vehicles on display as I could, and this is looking very cluttered, but I guess that's the price you pay to try and squeeze a whole toy line onto one shelf. But anyway, we've got the junk bots over here, and I've got the Crash Cannon out on display. That was an item that I didn't previously have out. I thought I'd get that out. And then we've got the junk bot trike, and the junk bots are having a bit of fun with poor old Spin on the Crash and Bash chair. And then we've got some of the dummies in their Protect suits over here. We've got one of the Crash cars, we've got the Crash cab, and then we've got old spare tire in the sidecar of the bike there. And I think that's Daryl pushing along Skid the Kid in a pram. And then up here we've got the Crash plane. Now again, I just didn't have space, but I really like this toy and I wanted to get him out, so I found one of these acrylic razors and just sat him above the cab. And then behind there, I've got a carded Crash Test dummy figure with a free bonus VHS, within the bubble. And I've got the Crash Test Dummies board game, which is complete up the back there. So again, I'm not loving how cluttered this is, but it's still really cool to see this toy line. One of my favorites, another one that I had an absolute ball with as a kid. As I get back onto my feet, just move back a bit. So there's the action figure collection as it currently stands. I've got more that I haven't got out just because I don't have the space for it, but again, in time, we'll get there as I get more cabinets and more bookcases. Try and squeeze as much as I can into this room. And then if we move over here, I've got the bookcase that I was using previously for some of my figures, and this is predominantly used now for the VHS, along with some additional items here on top of the bookcase. So we've got the Pizza Hut Land Before Time hand puppets. We've got some of my Viewmaster collection. Then if we move down here, we've got the WWF VHS collection, most of which you may have seen if you watched my last video, which was WWF VHS pickups. If not, we'll just provide a close look at these guys because I absolutely love them. Now, earlier in the year, I was helping my dad move house, and I stumbled across this photo of myself with a cardboard cutout of Hulk Hogan. I think this was at a Planet Hollywood restaurant when I was like 9 or 10 years old. So there's me in the old 90s, early 90s Charlotte Hornets hat with the Hulkster, loving life. And then I've got some Ninja Turtle wax packs here because this section of the collection room is like, you know, this is about keeping the spirit of the video store alive. And what did you get at the video store in addition to VHS tapes? You got wax packs of cards, so I had to put those here. And then if we move down here, these are my small box VHS. So just a combination of different movies there. Things that I definitely would have hired as a kid and or would have hired if I was old enough to watch them when I was a kid and still picking up VHS from the video store. And again, we've got some fast food toys here. So we've got the 1980s PVC toys of the McDonald's characters, and then we've got the really memorable 1990 changeables. Another Ghostbusters 2 wax pack there with the Ghostbusters 2 VHS, as I said, one of my favorites. And then down here, we've got the Big Box X-Rental VHS movies. So a combination of titles there. We've got the Bill S. Preston Kenner action figure, you know, standing proudly in front of the Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey movies on VHS. We've got a few of my retro video games here. I have very few retro video games. My retro video game collection is kind of functional. You know, I'm not looking to collect dozens or, you know, hundreds of retro video games. I'm looking at collecting the few games that I played religiously as a kid for display purposes, for nostalgia, but also to play, because I'm not someone that has a PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4 or Xbox. I'm definitely not keeping with the times when it comes to video games. I'm playing Super Nintendo. I'm probably having a crack at Super Nintendo maybe once a week, and Game Boy maybe, I don't know, once or twice a month. And then I'm looking to get a Sega Master System 2 as my next video game console purchase, because that was the console that I had as a kid prior to the Super Nintendo. And then if we come further down, another kind of catch-all shelf. These are books that I had as a kid. So when I was picking up some boxes from my mum's place, I came across some childhood books, which I picked up. Then I've got something that's actually pretty cool. These are VHS tapes that I taped off TV as a kid. Let's just have a quick look and see what we got here. How about that? Classic matches and WCW Nitro main events. Sadly, that's not what's in here. Someone taped over this. I was spewing when I found that and put it in my VCR, and it wasn't that, but I kept it because there's some awesome like 90s commercials. The one that I remember most clearly from just having a quick play on there is an awesome Ansett commercial, an Australian airline that doesn't exist anymore. So that was kind of cool. And then here we've just got some magazines. So the wrestling magazines that I've got left over from childhood. So, you know, cool to see these. Pretty horrible condition, but, you know, nostalgic value there. And some Mad magazines that I picked up in my vintage toy and collectible hunting in Canberra video. And then I've got the carded Barnyard Commandos figure that I picked up at Collecticon. Again, I just don't have a spot in the glass display for that. So for now, that just sits there, so at least it can be seen. So that's that bookcase. And over here, it's not exactly displayed beautifully, but we've got the Sony Trinitron TV, which is getting an absolute hammering at the moment between the Super Nintendo and the VHS that I've been watching. We've got the Sony VCR, and again, these are things you would have seen in my previous collection room tour video. We have my vintage box slot car items in my collection. Shout out AFX Ghost Racer, I absolutely love that thing as a kid. Just some vinyl that I picked up from my dad's place when I was helping him move house. Some graded basketball cards there. I collect sports cards as well. Certainly not to the same extent that I collect, vintage action figures and collectibles, but that's just something else I'm interested in. Something that I got my hands on recently. This is my childhood PlayStation and the little stack of PS1 games that I had as a kid. And in here we've just got some other slot car items that I found at my mum's place, which are pretty cool. So more of the F1 AFX slot cars, just like the Formula One Team Challenge. So we've got the McLaren and we've got the Williams car. So they're cool to have. And that's pretty much it. Now for now, ultimately this wall here will be where the VHS display goes. I want to get like a nice big media unit to display those. But for now, basically this is the wall where things sit that I haven't had a chance to film yet. So a bit of a sneak peek. Here we've got some thrift store finds that I want to share with you guys. Historically, I've had no luck when it comes to thrift store hunting. Just before this recent lockdown, I picked up a couple of cool things, want to share those. Here we've got something that I'm really excited to share, and some more vintage action figures here that will be coming in future videos. But they're for another day. And for now, this is how the room's looking. So there you have it, guys. That's the collection room for now. Now, it's by no means the most epic, out of this world vintage action figure collection that you'll find on YouTube, but these videos are about tracking my journey, and it's certainly coming together. Now, as far as where I go from here with the collection room, I would like to get one more glass display cabinet. I don't think I'm going to have room for another one of these full-size ones, but maybe one of the IKEA D12s, the more narrow glass display cabinets. I've checked, they're the exact same height. So if I can get one of them, it'd be perfect in the middle of these, because I've got whole collections that I still don't have shelf space to display. Like my Mighty Max collection comes to mind, for example. I just don't have space to get those on show. Also, at the rate I'm going, I'm definitely going to need another shelf for the vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collection pretty soon. So another glass display cabinet would be great. Then I'm going to look at moving the VHS bookcase over to this side of the room to make space for another glass display cabinet. And then I just need to find a larger kind of media case for the VHS collection and the retro video game collections as those grow. So plenty still to be done, but those are obviously jobs for another day. But before I get to that, I'm going to be back with some more videos. I've got some more cool stuff in the pipeline, more additions to the collection that I'm excited to share with you guys. Now, I know the term grail gets overused, and it's become that YouTube clickbait expression, but subjectively speaking, I've got a genuine grail find from one of the more obscure vintage toy lines of the late 80s. It's an item that I had as a kid. I've got a ton of great memories. Haven't seen one in the wild since I've been collecting as an adult, and I found a boxed one in a pawn shop of all places. So I'm excited to share that with you. I've got another couple of items from that same toy line, so we'll put those together and I'll share those with you in detail in another video. But before that, my next video is actually going to be the first in a new series for me. Now, when I share pickups videos, whether it's an action figure line or something else like wrestling VHS, if I use my last video as an example, I tend to wait until I've got 10, 12, 15 sometimes more items, and then put together a longer video, you know, where I can look at each item in detail and then get into some of the background information and share my childhood memories attached to those items. But sometimes I'll get one or two items that I just want to share quickly, and for that I'm going to be doing something called Crush's 5-minute finds. So my next video is going to be the first episode of Crush's 5-minute finds, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you as well. So that way I can kind of balance out short, sharp, punchy videos where I show you guys some cool stuff and then let you go, along with the longer videos where we get into more the childhood memories and the background on these toy lines and stuff like that. But those are other videos for other days. So until then, thank you so much for watching. I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments. If you've got advice on the collection room, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to know if you guys think I nailed the balance between stocking the shelves and cluttering the shelves, or if you've got any ideas as to how I can improve and evolve the room. But again, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.